Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're talking about hydrogen energy today. We've got Jim Payne with us from DynaCERT. Jim, thanks so much for coming to share your thoughts with us.
Thank you, Kevin. It's a real pleasure.
We're going to get into the details of the story, but I want you guys to have this ticker on your watch list right away so you can follow along. As I mentioned, the company's name is DynaCERT here in Canada, DYA.TO. That's on the Toronto Big Board Exchange. For our American friends down south, DYFSF will get you the same ticker. We'll get you the same stock, that is. So Jim, let's kick it off. I've done a lot of background research in your company. People watching may not be familiar. Why don't you start by just giving us a bit of an overview? What is your business model? What do you guys do?
Sure. Well, first of all, DynaCERT, we like to say we're a proud Canadian company with a global solution to reduce pollution. Now, we do that through, what we are, you look at DynaCERT, so the CERT represents carbon emission reduction technology. And that's really what we are. We are a carbon emission reduction technology company. We have a very unique product that was designed for internal combustion engines, primarily for diesel engines. Our focus has been the bigger diesel engines. Now, I say bigger, I'm talking everything from a Class 8 truck and large. But what we have is a very unique electrolysis system that is designed to mount to a truck or to an engine. It is fully computerized. What it does, it interfaces with the computer of an engine to determine the proper flow rate of gas. We produce pure hydrogen and pure oxygen. We produce it on demand. So we're never carrying it. It's produced on demand and fed right to the internal combustion engine through the air intake, literally just before the turbo, so it homogenizes it. And by doing this, we improve the fuel economy on an average 10 to 15%. Way more important than that, we reduce the toxic gases within the emissions north of 50%. Clear across the board. You look at the NOx, the most deadly gas produced by a diesel engine, we're reducing that by up to 88% right
Wow.
at the source, right at the combustion. The particulate matter, the black smoke, north of 50%. Typically, all your toxic gases within the emissions, north of 50%. The important thing to understand, Kevin, this is done right at the combustion. It is not a filtration system. It is because the engine is working so much cleaner and burning so much cleaner that it is reducing these emissions. And I think we all realize in today's world, by reducing those emissions, that is huge.
So it certainly is huge, and I'd love to dig into some of the environmental attributes further, but somebody watching that's maybe not familiar with hydrogen in general, you mentioned the term electrolysis. Can you briefly explain to the audience what exactly that is?
Sure. So our unit, first of all, it is a patented unit. It is designed where it takes distilled water and then through an electrolysis system, it separates the gases in it, produces pure hydrogen, pure oxygen. It is, we all learned the basic technology back in school in science, but the reality is, there is a real art to separating pure gases, pure hydrogen, pure oxygen, and more importantly, you've got to have the right mix. And this is something, it took us close to 20 years and close to $100 million to perfect this. It's interesting, you can go back over 50 years, and there's white papers, there's engineered papers where it clearly proves and states that introducing hydrogen to an internal combustion engine enhances the burn. The problem has always been, and there's companies have been trying to do this for years, the challenge has been you've got to have that right mix. If you don't have that right mixture, you don't get the results. But by getting the right mixture and by having this thing fully computerized, where it does this, now, we look at our technology, we hold over 27 worldwide on our technology. Like I said, we spent a fortune having this thing perfected, and then we spent a lot of time and a lot of effort having this thing tested, validated, and certified around the globe. So, we're a Canadian company, but we're a global company. We're in 55 countries of the world now. Our product is being utilized. It is really just now, though, where it is really gaining real significant recognition and really starting to happen.
Well, the price of fuel, seeing it across Canada, definitely here in Vancouver, the price has gone up significantly, especially with the introduction of the new or the increased carbon tax. I can see why looking at fuel savings, any way to save $1, I think in this economy is certainly attractive. I'd love to better understand. I understand that how introducing hydrogen into the engine can make it run better. You can save energy costs. How does it make it cleaner? I'm a little curious about how that works.
And that's a great question. And the reality is, a diesel engine, there's not an engine or an internal combustion engine in the world that runs 100% efficient. As much as everybody likes to believe it, I mean, the reality is you're leaving a lot of unburnt fuel. And by introducing hydrogen, first of all, hydrogen has a 10 times greater flame spread. It burns hotter, it burns faster, it ignites faster. So what it really does, and putting it in very simple terms, I mean, you look at the stroke of an engine. You've got your piston comes up, it combusts, and then on the way down, it's burning. So on the way down, with the introduction of hydrogen, you're getting a much faster burn. So it's burning hotter, but it's burning more complete near the top of the stroke. The interesting thing is it burns hotter, but the engine actually runs cooler. I know it doesn't make sense, but the reality is it's burning so much more at the top of the stroke that now it has part of that stroke to cool the engine. It's interesting. I mean, this has been tested, like I said, and validated around the world. Even by doing this, you look at the oil of an engine. The oil is something that eventually, I mean, it's what saves an engine, but it's what breaks down and starts wearing out in it. Oil gets dirty. Oil gets a soot in it. With the introduction of hydrogen, with our technology, and this has been tested and validated, we had this tested years ago by Detroit Diesel, where, they took two trucks, identical. They ran the same course, one with our unit, one without our unit. The one without our unit come back 8% soot content for typical oil change. They said that's standard, 8% soot content. One with the hydrogen unit came back less than 1% soot content.
Wow.
That means there is, all the soot that is getting through past the rings into the engine, wearing out the engine, is reduced. So there are so many added benefits. I mean, hydrogen is a clean burn. The interesting thing is also, I mean, hydrogen is one thing you can't deplete. I mean, you take water, you fracture it, you make hydrogen, you burn the hydrogen. What's the result? You get water. Right. There is zero emissions from burning hydrogen. So, the benefits are huge.
Something I find interesting about your approach of having the electrolyzer on board and essentially creating the fuel in real time, as I'm aware, obviously hydrogen is very energy dense, but to store it, especially in a gas form, it takes these massive tanks. So another company I'm familiar with, they're working on ways of getting these gigantic tanks onto trucks. So I find it very interesting to see your approach, skip those tanks in general and just create the hydrogen on the spot. So do you just need to store water, I guess, on board specifically for the hydrogen?
That is correct. All you're storing is distilled water. And it blows my mind. You take a liter of water or a half liter of water, a typical bottle of water that we drink, the amount of energy stored in that is staggering. I mean, it really is. A typical, you take a Class 8 truck. A Class 8 truck will operate with our unit 80 hours and 2 liters of water. Now, wow. We're not the fuel. We're a catalyst. And that's the important thing to understand. We are, I'm not saying that this engine is burning pure hydrogen. This engine is burning diesel fuel, but with the catalyst of the introduction of hydrogen and oxygen, it's getting a complete burn. You're getting all the performance on it. By doing that, it increases the torque, increases the power, it improves the fuel economy, it reduces the emissions so significantly. I mean, the added benefit is huge. The other things that are really benefits, you look at a Class 8 truck today, and I talk about Class 8 truck, I'm talking about transport truck. They all have what's called a DEF system, which is a diesel exhaust fluid system. It has a DPF system, which is diesel particulate filters. So, these things like a DEF, I mean, this is designed in such a way that it's for urea into the engine to help reduce the NOx, which is the most deadly gas. Mm-hmm. With our unit, reducing the NOx 88%, the DEF fluid is reduced, by close to 50% of the use of the diesel exhaust fluid. You look at the diesel particulate filter, which is a massive filter, which is gathering the black soot. They last, up to 3 times as long because of the reduction in particulate matter. But the other thing, a lot of people don't really understand, with a Class 8 truck, they have what's called a regen. So, they run for a period of time. This filter is gathering all its particulate matter. And then what happens is that the driver is told to find a remote area because this truck's going to go into a regen. When it goes into a regen, it pours fuel into this massive filter and tries to burn the majority of this black smoke or this soot back up. It literally engulfs the truck from black smoke and puts it all the way back in the atmosphere. But the reality is, today's, with what we look at in Class 8 trucks or in these big engines, with this particulate matter, everything like that, the DPF is, sure, we don't see the black smoke when it's going down the road. We don't see it coming out of the smokestack. Makes us all feel. The reality is, it's all going right back in the atmosphere at some point. Through the regen, they're pouring it back out. And then when it cannot go through any more regens, they take these great big filters and throw it in the landfill site. So the reality is, it's continually going into the environment. This is what really gets me, because the reality is, Kevin, we have a technology today, right now, that is proven worldwide, makes such a significant difference in the reduction in the emissions, and at the same time, improving the fuel economy, which gives them a return on investment where it pays for itself. I know, people look at it and they say, well, why, let's go EV. Yeah. And believe me, I'm not knocking EV. I think EV is great for certain applications. But the reality is, when you're looking at large diesel engines, you're looking at the Class 8 trucks, something like that, it makes no sense. It does not work. I mean, first of all, there is 6,000 pounds added batteries to a Class 8 truck on an average to run 8 hours. Now, in North America, Class 8 trucks typically run 24/7. They've got 3 different drivers. They're going across coast to coast. EV doesn't work. But you take 6,000 pounds of batteries, add it to the truck, that's 6,000 pounds of lost payload that they can carry because they're restricted. They can only carry so much weight. So all of a sudden, the economics not there. And the reality is, that means that there's that many more trucks got to be on the road to be doing this. So it just doesn't make economic sense.
Well, you gave me the perfect segue. Why don't let's pretend I'm a client. I have a fleet of semi-trucks. What does it look like in terms of me paying for a unit, my savings? When does it pay back? Kind of walk me through the economics from that point of view.
So, we look at a Class 8 truck. Yeah, we're just talking about Class 8 trucks here right now, but a Class 8 truck, typical, is the cost is just under $10,000, all in, all done, installed on the truck. If you look at on an 8% improvement in fuel economy in North America, their payback is between 8 and 9 months just on the fuel saving.
Wow.
Now, when you add in the reduction of the depth fluid, the prolonged life of the diesel particulate filter, we've also had multiple companies come back and said, Jim, you talk about the fuel savings, you talk about everything, your unit pays for itself in the reduced downtime because their truck has so much, it runs so much cleaner, so much better. And even when they got to go into the regen, that takes a lot of time and stuff like that. So they're saying with this reduced downtime, your unit pays for itself. But the other thing, Kevin, what we've really, really been focused on, and we've spent the last 3 years getting through, where we are literally on the final page, the final step of carbon credits. And this is something that we've gone through to have certified through Verra, which is the best, most world-renowned company in verifying the carbon credits. It has been a long process. Everybody, a lot of people say, well, why didn't you go other roads? Because there's a lot of other places you can go. You can get it done faster and stuff like that. The reality is Verra is the company. It is the go-to. It is where, the big companies, if they're going to buy carbon credits, they will only buy Verra approved carbon credit. But with the carbon credits, that our technology, when I say we're computerized, we also have what we call the Hydrolytica. The Hydrolytica is our data collection system where it's collecting data in real time. It shows in real time the improved fuel economy, the reduction in the emissions, and then it converts it to what is CO2e, which then converts it to carbon credits. So this shows in real time, what the actual savings are in carbon credits, into what the real time savings are in greenhouse gases or your carbon footprint. And I am a very strong believer in we all need to be able to reduce the carbon footprint. We look at ESG. I mean, today ESG has become one of the most important things for a company in reporting. Yeah, I was born and raised on a country farm. I was born and raised on a quarter horse farm. I was country. I was a cowboy. I was country before country was cool. When I was young, I wore a cowboy hat everywhere. I wore cowboy boots everywhere. And then when it became stylish back in the mid 70s, I stopped wearing it because it's just not who I was anymore. But when I look at DynaCERT, DynaCERT was ESG before ESG was cool. You really look at what we do and the difference we make worldwide. I mean, this is something where we are a perfect fit. So we are just now coming into an arena where it all makes sense.
Well, your timing's perfect. We mentioned the carbon tax already. Carbon credits. Okay, explain to me how this works. Back to the client example, I purchased these units off of you. I'm now obviously have these environmental attributes. Does DynaCERT own the carbon credit, or does the client own the carbon credit, or
That's
some
a great question. So, I mean, carbon credits, the only way carbon credits can be collected, it has to be under the big umbrella, which is DynaCERT. So, we have established in such a way that there is a very small minimal subscription agreement for the hydrolytic, for the data collection. They pay for that subscription. It qualifies them for 50% of the carbon credits. 50% of the carbon credits, equates to typical truck in North America right now. It's thousands of dollars a year. I mean, that is an added bonus. A lot of companies, now just yesterday I had two groups here from Europe. I mean, in Europe, carbon credits or the carbon offset, the carbon tax, they are so penalized for that over there. It's not even fun.
Really?
But with our technology, as soon as these carbon credits, and we don't have it. Like I said, we are literally on the final stage, the final page of this. We expect that we will have this within the next couple of weeks. Vera has already proved their methodology. If you go on Vera's site, it shows DynaCERT's methodology is on what they've got it shown as the final stage, the final step of approval. We've been back and forth with them. We believe within the next couple of weeks, this will be done. At that point, this will qualify for the carbon credits. But like when in Europe, they want it for a carbon offset because they spend thousands of dollars per truck on the road just in carbon taxes, where they can utilize this as a carbon offset.
I can only imagine, and not a moment too soon with the increased tax. When you quoted your 8 to 9 month payback, does that factor in money from carbon credits, or is that purely fuel savings? Really?
That was
does that factor in purely fuel savings? So even reduced maintenance, things like that, that's not factored into 8, 9 months.
That is not
purely fuel savings. Wow. Now, I won't pretend to be an expert on eco technologies, but generally speaking, when I understand you're looking at the payback of a wind turbine or solar panel, I was under the impression that they talk years being acceptable. Is that maybe is my information out of date, or is this just a particularly
you're absolutely
unique quick payment? Really? Okay,
you're absolutely right. Yeah, and I'm asked quite often. They said, Jim, like, why is it? This doesn't make sense. Why isn't it just flying off the shelf? Well, we are now just hitting that point. We're hitting that tipping point. But the reality is, when I talk about Class 8 truck, you talk to transport companies, they have been inundated for years. Put this in your tire, put this in your oil, put this in your fuel tank, put this in shove this up the tailpipe. It just goes on and on and on. They have been so sick and tired of being sold these goods that they wanted nothing to do with it. They are now just really, coming, this is becoming a real. They're starting to really understand what our technology does. But the biggest win for us was the Hydrolytica, because now in real time, they can download the app. They can download it on their desktop. Their management, their fleet managers can download it, where they can see in real time what the fuel savings are. They can see in real time what the reduction in the greenhouse gases are, what the reduction in the carbon footprint, and that also benefits them for their ESG reporting. But, now it's not questionable anymore.
So what is the opportunity when you have these carbon credits available? There's clearly benefits to both the client and DynaCERT. When you collect these carbon credits, I'm assuming there's some kind of open market you can sell them in, and that's just new revenue on the balance sheet. Well, what does that opportunity look like?
It is a massive market. You look at the market, and it's not hard to find now. I mean, there is markets out there. The reality is there is a bigger demand for carbon credits, or a real carbon credit, for a certified carbon credit. There's a bigger demand for it today than what there is available. It is, but yes, it is sold. Actually, it was interesting just a couple of days ago. I wish I had the exact number, but it was over $1 billion, where Tesla just announced, this year they had sold their carbon credits. It was over $1 billion. I mean, Tesla, wow. The only way Tesla is making money is on the carbon credits.
That's still true, hey? Wow.
That is still true, yes. The carbon credits are massive, and the demand for it. You look at, there's so many big companies today. Let's look at airlines. The airlines, they have a huge carbon footprint. They have no other way of offsetting that other than buying carbon credit. They have to meet a certain criteria, so they have to buy the carbon. That's just one of most companies around the world that have to buy these carbon credits.
That's impressive. So, there's obviously a no-brainer value to utilizing your technology, which also means there's going to be a lot of people probably trying to steal your lunch. 100 million in development, 20 years ahead. I can see how that leads to a particular advantage. But overall, how do you defend this technology from competitors?
Well, the one thing we have done, we have spent a lot of money and a lot of effort having, the patents that we held. 27 patents. We have quite a family of patents. Having said that, you can't protect yourself from everything. But at the same time, Kevan, there's companies out there that have been trying to do this for years. There not a lot of companies, but there's a handful of companies out there that profess that, they're saving 20, 30% fuel savings. The reality is, at times, our technology, in peaks and valleys, can save up to 25 or 30%. But there's times it's only going to save 2, 3, 4%, depending on the conditions, depending on thousands of variables. On an average, I like to say we're at 8 to 10%, or 10 to 15% even, but on the most part, it's 10 to 15%. But even at 8%, it pays for itself in less than 1 year. The payback is there, but there is certainly room. There is over 1 billion diesel engines in the world. They are not going anywhere soon. The market is massive. The market is huge. So there is certainly room for, and I welcome some good, strong competitors. There's nothing better for the industry when you've got, more than one company out there, where you hit that tipping point, and I look at the trucking companies. I was, 7 or 8 years ago, I was in Kentucky. Maybe it was even a little more than that. I was down in Kentucky at the largest truck show. And the skirts that you see underneath trailers today?
I do.
I was there when they were first launched, and it was interesting. The truckers walked around and they said, there is no effing way we will ever put these things under our trailers. That was the way it was. Now, at an average cost of between $2,500 and $3,000 per truck to improve the fuel economy on an average of 1%, you're hard-pressed now to find a trailer anywhere in North America and in Europe without them. So, it's a process. It gets so far, and then it hits that tipping point, and then all of a sudden everybody realizes, we've got to have it. So I do believe that we are now moving into that arena. I do believe, over the next year, 18 months, we're going to hit that tipping point, and, we're going to see these things everywhere. And, but, I talk a lot about the Class 8 trucks. The reality is, we look at our markets today. We're on buses, city buses, refrigerated trailers, these big containers, these big refrigerated containers, that every one of them have a diesel engine that runs 24/7 on them, keep the refrigerant going. They're not a big engine, an average 1.5 to 2 liter engines, but these things are just there running 24/7, and that's a massive market. Delivery trucks. I mean, now I'm talking, mid-sized delivery, and then power generators, like the big power generators are all over the world. Right now, Boise Bay, one of the largest mining companies in Boise Bay, has 4 of our large. Now we have a multiple size. So we've got smaller size for delivery trucks now. Then we've got a typical, which was our go-to market, which is our HG1. Then we've got a 4C and a 6C for the much, much bigger engines, for the mining, the big power generation, the drilling rigs in the oil fields, things like that. And then so in Boise Bay, this is a massive generator. I mean, this is a generator half the size of a house, powering a mining operation. They have 4 of our 6Cs in parallel, powering that. So the market is massive, but the mining industry has really, really in the last 18 months, really grabbed a hold of our technology. Obviously, I mean, they are scrutinized for the emissions and stuff like that, but they are also, looking at fuel savings. And now we have hundreds of units going out in the mining industry around the world. And so, I mean, it is, the market is growing. The market is huge. A market that I really want to penetrate. And this is something that very few people really understand or really know. You look at the big container ships. Now, I'm talking these big container ships that you see, guys see in the pictures that are just containers stacked mile high. I like the one that actually just took that bridge out in the States there a couple weeks ago.
Wow,
but,
slowly.
One of those container ships, Kevan, you got to think out of the box and think massive, think really big. But one container ship puts out the equivalent of how many cars per year in pollution?
You want me to guess?
Take a wild guess.
I mean, I'm familiar with bunker fuel. I know it's the dirtiest of the dirty. One, like where this ship travels in a whole year. How many cars is that?
1 year. One ship compared to how many cars per year?
I'm just completely making a random number. 10,000. I have no idea.
Would you believe one container ship puts out the equivalent of 50 million cars?
Okay, that's an
per
embarrassing
year
guess
in
for me.
pollution.
50 million.
And you take 17 container ships, puts out the equivalent of all the cars on the planet.
What?
And we're worried about cars. I mean,
oh, wow.
These things have ran under the radar screen. I mean, they're now starting to be scrutinized. But up to now, these things have ran under the radar screen for, and so then you look at those. I mean, you even look at the cruise ships. We all love going on cruises and stuff like that. Now, they're certainly not near as bad as container ships, but the pollution those are putting out, then you think of those things. You look at a cruise ship. I mean, it's a city on what?
Yeah.
Lit up like a city. I mean, it's lit up like Las Vegas. I mean, it's all powered by diesel jet. I mean, those kind of engines are what, really, really we need to make a big difference in. Because that's where it comes.
I'm still stuck on that point of 17 of these ships. 1 year is the same pollution as every single car on Earth.
Right.
And I'm sitting here in Vancouver and I have a view of the downtown harbor, and I just counted 7 out there. And that's not particularly busy today. And another 2 out there. So I see 9 in my direct vision right now. That's incredible.
I know it is.
Wow. Okay. So that's clearly a big market that you're.
The market is massive. The market is huge. I do believe, I believe hydrogen is the future. I've always believed hydrogen was the future. I believe in the hydrogen economy. I believe that our current technology is a bridge to the hydrogen economy.
Yeah.
I believe it's a huge bridge, very long bridge, a very large bridge. The reality is big diesel engines are going nowhere anytime soon.
Right.
Now, you look at the OEMs, they are now looking at, and they've come forward. I mean, all the big OEMs that build the big diesel engines, they're all now talking hydrogen in the future. They have came forward and said, we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars buying EV for that technology, for the big, uses. They said it'll never work. Now EV for cars, I mean, city cars, they're perfect. But, for these big diesel engines, it doesn't work. But they are now saying that, matter of fact, JCB just not long ago, their CEO had came forward, unveiled their first hydrogen engine.
Sure.
They said, this is the future. Now they believe it's 10, 15 years off, but they said this is where they see the future. They said it is as powerful as a diesel engine. The emissions are zero. I mean, the emissions is like, but now they said, now what the world really needs to do as we are moving towards this direction, the world needs to grab a hold of green hydrogen. So when the time comes that we've got enough green hydrogen to be able to power it. So, and we look at DynaCERT. We have partnered with a private company. It's called Cyberneutron. Cyberneutron is experts in green hydrogen, in AEM technology. I mean, there is two real there's companies out there trying to do it. Right now, there's two companies that have a commercialized AEM technology. There's one in Germany, and there's one here in Canada, which is Cyberneutron. We have partnered with this company. We have options to buy up to 50% of this company. But I believe, and we as a company believe that the long future of this company is green hydrogen, is the hydrogen industry. And that's why we are looking at this long term. I mean, I believe right now with our current technology, it is such a massive market. Like I said, yesterday I had, people here from Europe, they're talking, I mean, this is, a multi-million dollar / billion dollar industry. They are very excited and very, seeing the future with the current technology. It is a large, huge opportunity. I mean, it is an opportunity that is right now. This is the thing, and it does frustrate. I mean, it frustrates me that everybody is, especially, you look at governments now. Now governments are finally starting to talk to us, finally, but they were so stuck. Everything is EV. Right. We had, some of the biggest cities here in Canada that wouldn't, oh no, the government's going to subsidize us. We're going EV. All our buses are going EV. Well, it's backfire. It's not happening. Now all of a sudden they're back knocking on our door and talking to us and saying, we need a solution.
So Jim, I'm so fascinated, honestly, by you. I mean, I see where you're at now. It looks like now seems to be like the stars have aligned. The technology's there. Fuel price is expensive. Carbon price is making it more expensive. The payback is clearly, it's obvious and it's beneficial. But 20 years ago, none of this was clear or obvious. Like, where did you come from with your cowboy boots and everything? Like, how did you get into this opportunity? How did you see this so long ago?
Yeah, I was introduced to the technology 20 years. Sure. I was a general contractor by trade. We built everything from hospitals to restaurants to hotels, you name it. I was a structural engineer in my background, but I had years ago started as an angel financer. It was investing in public companies behind the scenes. Believe I never wanted to run a public company. I had ran companies since I was 21 years old. And that's a long time ago. But I've been an entrepreneur running companies my whole entire life. Got involved, like I said, looking at public companies, helping take companies public, working behind the scenes with public companies, loved it. I would get stock options and I'd get involved. I'd help them raise money and things like that. And that's how I got introduced to this company. This company, I fell in love with the technology, with what I believe the future is of this technology. Now, the original founder of this company he had a brilliant mind, but he was very controlled. He had this technology and it was not computerized. It worked really well on one particular diesel engine type, and they were struggling to make it work on anything else. To myself, family, and friends, we put the first $5 million into this company before it ever look, and then a few years down the road, it was going nowhere. But within 8-10 years, I was faced with a hard fact. By this time, I had believed in it so much. I'd put a lot of money into it. I had every family, every friend invested in this company. I had put my neck on the line for this company. And then all of a sudden, this company was on the brink of failure. So at that point, I was sort of faced with two choices. Watch it go, lose all my friends, lose all my lose a lot of money for a lot of people, or try and grab a hold of this thing and turn it around. The one thing I've been good at my whole life is building a team. This has never been about me. I certainly don't profess to be the most brilliant boy on the block, but I am certainly pretty good at putting a team together, defining a target, and then finding a way to get there. And that's exactly what I did. We took this company, I took it over, we started bringing in engineers and stuff like that. I had built a whole team, and then started perfecting this thing. But I kept saying, this thing has to be computer. This has to be a bolt-on unit. This has to be a unit that works on every engine type. Now, once we've got that, we've got to test this thing and have it validated around the world, and then we can market. And that's exactly what we did. And if you look back just a few years ago, literally pre-COVID, just literally months pre-COVID, we had hit that point. And we had hit that tipping point, and we were on the road. Sales are coming in the door. We had global interest. Everything was happening. We had our stock soared. We hit an all-time high of $1.24, $1.25, trading millions of shares a day. Everything was happening. And then boom, government announced COVID. We were forced to shut down. We had to shut our operation down. Not a dealer anywhere could sell anything. We couldn't ship anything. We couldn't do anything for over 2 years.
Ouch.
It was devastating. The only thing, thank the good Lord, we were well capitalized. We could ride the storm. Now, the only thing we could keep going during that time was research and development. So we perfected our product. We increased our assembly line so that we were set doing like that. We increased our product line so we didn't just have the unit for our truck, but we had units for the mining industry and stuff like that. And then COVID opened up, things started happening, and then guess what? EV, everything was EV, government EV, nobody wanted to talk to us, everything. No, the world's going EV. That's the way it's happening. Well, good news is, the reality is, everybody has come to the appreciation to the fact, knowing that diesel engines, large diesel engines, are going to be around for a long time. We needed a solution. We need a solution now. We're in a perfect place, perfect opportunity, a perfect product. The company is on a growth pattern now. I believe this company is way bigger than me. And we are aligning things now for, to increase management, increase board. Matter of fact, we just last week announced one addition to our board, which was a woman that is so well connected, was a major part of the Toronto Stock Exchange, just joined our board. At the end of the month, we've got another expert joining our board. We've got a lot of things happening, a lot of growth is happening, and now we are ready to start making some noise and see this thing happen. So,
well, that's incredible. And we've covered the industry, we've covered the merits of the product. We've discussed you and your cowboy boots and where you came from. I actually didn't know that you were involved with public companies beforehand. That's a really cool origin story. We've discussed all kinds of elements of what's so compelling about DynaCERT, but let's just hammer it home to the investors watching about the stock. Why should somebody at home be looking at buying the stock? Like, why is now the time?
Well, like I said before, this is a company, we're not a new company. This is a company that spent 20 years perfecting our product. We spent $100 million getting to where we got today. The reality is we've got product now that works consistently. And I guess, the one thing that really excites me is when I say we're starting to see sales, what we're starting to see is repeat sales. Mm-hmm. And that's probably the most important, because these are companies that, first of all, have bought 5 units, then bought 10 units. Now they're coming back and buying 100 units and 200 units and starting to outfit their fleets because they have now tested, they've tested the water, seen it work, and now they're buying. And then with the carbon credits coming online and things like that, I don't believe there was ever a more perfect time for a perfect product with perfect opportunity to make a real difference. And that's what really excites me. Kevin, I'm not a young man, but I got 3 kids. I got 10 grandchildren. Matter of fact, one of my oldest grandsons is getting married this summer. This will be the first grandchild to get married. But
Wow.
to me, it is, I am so proud to say that I have been part of a company that can now make real difference in making this world a better place and prolonging things for not for my generation, not even for my kids, but for the next generation and generations to come. I think we're on a path. We're on a path. We don't have the solution to fix everything, but we have a solution right now that can make a significant difference. And I know, your generation, Kevin, now looks at this, and this is something that, they really, really find important, that we make this difference. And to me, this was important. And I really do believe that, now is the time. Now is the opportunity, not just for our company, but this is the opportunity to make a real difference, a significant difference in the future of this world.
Well, Jim, I'm a proud shareholder. I'm delighted with what you're doing. I'm excited for the future. This has been a really eye-opening conversation for me. I'm sure people watching probably will have enjoyed this a lot as well. Your company, I'm looking forward to continuing coverage on and meeting with you again. So just on behalf of myself and people watching, thank you so much for taking time to discuss this with us. I know how busy you are. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate the time.
So once again, for investors at home, if you're Canadian, this stock DynaCERT trades on the big board here, Toronto Stock Exchange, ticker DYA.TO. Our American friends, once again, DYFSF, that trades over the counter in the US. If you have any questions, by all means, reach out to us. We'd love to answer them. And Jim, I can't wait to see you again and do this one more time.
All right. Thanks again.